Good morning, everyone. Sorry about the delay. We're having some technical difficulties. The farm that we are visiting is a little bit out there, so we are still working on that. So bear with us. Thank you guys for joining us. This is our first virtual farm field trip, so we're excited to have you guys with us today. I am Becky Sponholz. I am the Executive Director of Florida Agriculture in the Classroom, and we are the ones hosting today's field trip. Jennifer Morgenthau, our education specialist, and Tiffany Torres, our state school garden specialist, are on site and behind the scenes helping with this. A few housekeeping items for those of you on Zoom. You'll see that we're on Zoom webinar, not Zoom meeting, so you're not going to have the option of unmuting or muting or turning your video on or off. You'll also see that the chat function has been disabled. All of your questions and comments need to go in the Q&A function. That's going to help us keep track of the questions as we go through. If you are able, if you guys have questions, we would love to hear them, and we will ask the presenters as we go through. If you are on YouTube, there is a chat function, which we can see that you guys have already started using. If you have questions, type them in there. We will get to them, as many as we can. If there are any questions that we cannot answer because we don't have time, we will follow up with an email in the next week. I think that is all. So keep the questions coming. Thanks for joining us. And it looks like we are able to pass it over to Tracy.
I'm Tracy Nazaro, and I'm a co-owner here at Traders Hill Farm in Hilliard, Florida. We are in Northeast Florida, just north of Jacksonville. We are the largest commercial aquaponics facility in the Southeastern United States, and we're very excited to be here for this virtual field trip. So a little bit about Traders Hill Farm. So this farm was actually started in 2014. We started with a small commercial system, a very small system in one of our old structures, an old chicken barn. And the chicken barn, and it worked, the concept was great. But for food safety, we realized we needed commercial structure. So in 2015, we built a small commercial structure that you can see behind me. So that structure has an aquaculture operation and a horticulture operation, and it has a plant capacity of 20,000 plants, which might seem like a lot, but in reality, for a commercial operation, it's not very much. So in 2016, we embarked on our next adventure to launch our large building. So this building is bifurcated. It's bifurcated east and west. We're looking at the east side of the building right now. So this entire building has a plant capacity of 80,000 plants. So all told, we have 100,000 plant capacity, which we try and turn about every 30 days. So I think to learn more about aquaponics, we should start at the beginning, which is where our aquaculture operation is. So we're going to walk past the east side of the greenhouse and walk into our aquaculture operation. I welcome any questions that you have during this tour. So you can see, I'll have Rachel take a picture of our greenhouse. So this is half of our large greenhouse. Our grow method for our hydroponic operation is deep water culture. So the way this facility is designed, they're designed using deep water culture using 4 different beds on each side of the building. And as we get a little later on this morning, I'll explain a little bit more about the technology that powers our horticulture operation. One thing at Traders Hill Farm is food safety. So food safety is something that's very, very important to us. We are very mindful as a team that we grow and sell food to the public, including our school systems. So Nassau County Public School System and Alachua County school systems in Florida, as well as UF Dining and Seminole Dining are some of our big customers. So keeping in mind that that food safety is a priority for us, we do as a team manage our food safety. So as we walk into this building, I'm going to ask everyone behind me. We're just going to rinse off the bottom of our shoes. This helps us keep dirt from coming in the building, and don't want to keep the doors open very long. It's very important that we keep the bugs out. Great. And so then as we head into this building, I'm going to give my guests hairnets. So this is the east side of our greenhouse. 1, 2, 3. We do ask that all guests wear hairnets. And when the team is harvesting, which we're not harvesting today, when the team is harvesting, they always wear hairnets, gloves, and sleeves. It's important to us that that we keep the products as clean and as fresh as possible. So we're going to head this way and start at the beginning. So aquaponics is the marriage between an aquaculture operation, which is raising fish, and a hydroponic operation, which is raising plants in water instead of soil. So we have aquaculture, hydroponics, and the marriage is aquaponics. So we're going to head into our fish barn so you can see our aquaculture operation. So our system at Traders Hill Farm is a gravity fed system. So we're going to go up these stairs, and this is the highest point in our system. This is where it all begins. So that's some very excited fish this morning. So at Traders Hill Farm, our fish, the fish become the fuel for our system. So our fish are tilapia. We choose tilapia for several reasons. The first reason is on a sustainability scale, they rate quite high. They are very low protein eaters. So I'm not raising fish to feed fish. They have a broad diet and they have a feed that's readily available. So we feed our fish a Purina milled feed. So this is a Purina Aquamax. It's formulated specifically for pond fish, so it's low in protein but high in nutrients. It's very palatable. Another reason why we like tilapia is they do you can see them bumping around. They do very well in close quarters. They do very well in temperature fluctuations.
Tracy,
and they are, yes?
There was a question on how deep and how big are each of these pools where the fish are?
So these tanks in this building are 1,200 gallon tanks, and I probably have about 1,000 gallons of water in each tank. The number of fish per tank, we divide our tanks by weight. So I do have an aquaculturist on staff, and she determines what sort of weight we want in this tank, and then we move fish around accordingly, according to their growth rates. We are tilapia. We have two different types of tilapia. We have the blue tilapia and the hybrid tilapia. The hybrid is a hybrid of the blue and the white tilapia. Tilapia are not native to the United States. They are an African fish. So we do have a license to keep these fish. And it is very important that that these fish stay in an aquaculture operation and do not get into our streams and rivers where they can breed and start to proliferate our rivers and stream system. So the way aquaponic works is I have my tilapia. They're fed a high quality diet, and the waste from the fish becomes the basis of a fertilizer. So it goes through a conversion process. Fish fed high quality diet, waste is heavy, goes to the bottom of the tank and flows out into a wastewater treatment plant. And that is where conversion takes place, which is super, super important because waste is high in ammonia and it must go through a conversion process, much like composting. So it will convert from ammonia to nitrite to nitrate. And is the nitrate that is the usable form of nitrogen for the plants. So once this water is converted into a nutrient water, it flows through our grow beds, and the roots of the plants further filter the water, and then it recirculates back. So if you look at this water right here, this is water that has actually been through the entire system, just pretty clean looking water. So it started off in this tank. went through the wastewater treatment plant, went through all my hydroponic growing operation, and now it's returning back. It's quite clean water. Do test my waters at least twice weekly. Want to make sure that the ammonia in this tank is as close to zero as possible. And also that the dissolved oxygen is as high as possible. For tilapia, you don't want to go over a DO of 14 parts per million, but they do need oxygen. So to put oxygen in these tanks, we use air stones. So I think, Rach, can you see the air coming in here? Just like people, your fish need oxygen to breathe. They need oxygen to live. So I use air stones to keep the oxygen in the tanks. Super important that your fish always have oxygen. If I don't have oxygen, within 1 hour, my fish will start expiring, and within 4 hours, you'll lose everybody. They just get stressed out. Don't
we
sell
have
a lot. Ooh,
go ahead.
More questions?
More questions. So a lot of questions about how many fish on the farm total and how many fish per container there.
So fish on the farm total, I have 3 different aquaculture systems, and I've got probably between 3,500 and 4,000 fish total on property. I do not, at Traders Hill Farm, we are a produce grower shipper first. So I don't sell a lot of fish. I know a lot of aquaponics operations look at fish as a revenue source, and for us, I look at them as an engine. So I do sell them. Usually, it's during the summertime. It's quite an involved process. So it takes a few extra hands to expire fish. We put them in a saltwater bath for at least 3 days and don't feed them. Gives them a clean gut. And salt water does amazing things for fish in terms of calming their nervous system. And then on day of harvest, they go into an ice bath. They expire on ice, and then they go whole on ice to a fish distributor. Do not sell live fish. Again, we don't want these fish going into our ponds, rivers, and streams.
Tracy, there was a question about where you sell the fish to.
So here in Jacksonville, I have a distributor. It is Trout River Fish Company on 17 in Jacksonville.
Okay, and that's the only location?
That's the only location, and we don't sell a lot, and he will take all of them. So
there was another. How big do the fish get when? How big do the fish get when it's time to harvest?
So harvest weight is a minimum of 3 pounds. I prefer them to be between 4 and 6 pounds. I do weigh them on the date of harvest. But I've had them come out of here as much as 8 pounds. I do sell them by the pound, but 3 pounds is about the smallest that you want for a nice fillet. Nice thing about tilapia, or about fish in general, is they will grow at the rate you feed them. So if I feed them less, they will grow slower. If I wanted to, you could grow out a tilapia in 6 months by pumping them full of feed. I feed at a lower rate because I'm really looking for the nitrogen more so than I'm looking for fish growing fast.
Okay, Tracy, we have a lot of more fish questions, and everybody, we will get to them. But the next 2 places, just to keep us on schedule, the next 2 places have been pre-recorded because of internet issues. So we are going to go to this small biosystem and then into the seed room. So if you guys have questions while those videos are playing, please just keep typing them in. And when we move on to the greenhouse, we will get as many of them answered as possible.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So a key component of our aquaponics system is our biosystem. And in this system, this is where the fish waste converts from a waste to a nutrient water. So water flows underground into this tank first. Heavy solids it's conical at the bottom, so heavy solids flow through the bottom, and I let those off outside. We manage the heavy solids. We do use nutrients from that for our outdoor plantings, but I don't need the heavy solids through the aquaponics system. Then it goes through a filtration system. So this is a 5-step filtration system. So throughout the depth of this, the filters get smaller to help, again, filter out any of the solid particulates. And then the next stage comes here into our coldest media tank. So this is aerobic digestion. This is where a lot of the magic happens. So these beads, it's called coldest media or K media, has a lot of surface area. And on this surface area are beneficial bacteria. And it is this beneficial bacteria that facilitates the change from ammonia to nitrite to nitrate. And that nitrate is the usable form of nitrogen for the plants. So have to have a lot of air to keep the bacteria alive. So in your aquaponics system, you have 3 living things. You have fish, you have plants, and you have your beneficial bacteria. And then water flows into this tank. So this is a collecting tank. We call it a dosing tank. This water is what flows out to our grow beds. If I need to add any additives, which would be occasionally potassium or phosphorus or iron, we add it here in this tank. So from this tank, water goes out through our grow beds, flows from the south to the north, and then returns to our sump. Sump is the lowest point in an aquaponics system. Remember, the fish tanks were on the highest point. Your sump is the lowest point. And from the lowest point, the water gets pumped back up to the fish tanks where it starts all over again. Let's come into our seed nursery. So all the plants here at Traders Hill Farm have a beginning in the seed nursery. So they start in this nursery for 7 to 10 days, sometimes up to 2 weeks. The reason why we start all our seeds indoors is it gives each of our seeds an equal start in life. So what you're looking at here is a Grodan tray. So the plants are seeded in rock wool, and there's 200 seeds in each of these trays. We use white LED lights, which are perfectly fine for the stage in life that they're at. As if I was going to be a full indoor grower, or and want to grow them to full-size plants indoors, I would want to use red and blue lights. But just for the initial stage in their lives, the white lights work great. It's a nice broad spectrum light. Come on over here and we'll look at, I can show you the rock wool. So rock wool is, it is a rock. It's basalt rock, and it's spun into very fine fibers like insulation. Now, insulation actually is designed to repel water, and there's a binding agent in this rock wool. We use a brand called Grodan, and that helps it absorb water. Love rock wool because we get almost a near 100% germination rate versus other media such as peat. While rock wool doesn't rate as high on the sustainability scale as I'd like, it does offer that near 100% germination. So top side, we plant seeds in the rock wool, and then on the bottom you can see it's like a graham cracker. So when they go to plant it, each of these pieces breaks off. Working with a team of engineers at Southern Illinois University to create a vacuum seeder. So as you can see, seeds are very tiny, but these seeds have a coating on them, and that coating makes them easier to handle. So these are romaine seeds. Right now, the seeds were hand seeded. So I have a team member who hand seeds each of these plants. But we are working again to work with a vacuum seeder that was developed by an engineer at Southern Illinois University, and this is an ingenious product where seeds are put into a tray, the vacuum sucks up the seeds, put the plenum on the Grodan, release the vacuum, and seeds drop in. So this is a microgreen growing system. It's a rather small system. We actually have the ability to build this out about 10 times the size. But when food service slowed down because of COVID, we sunset our system. But microgreens are wonderful. They are growing here in an NFT system, which is nutrient film technique. So there's a thin film of water that is growing, that is flowing under these microgreens. So these are cilantro. We've got some pea shoots, some radish, and some celery. Beautiful thing about microgreens is they're very fast growing. So pea shoots grow in about 10 days. It is a mini It is a mini plant. Celery grows in about 2 weeks, and the cilantro grows in about 12 to 14 days as well.
All right, so we are now going to be moving on to the greenhouse, but Rachel, Tracy, before we completely move into the greenhouse, we have a few questions. We actually have a lot of questions. You guys are amazing. These questions are great.
Okay.
Keeping up with them. But how many seeds do you have in your seed room at any given time?
So it's about 100,000. So total plant capacity on the facility is 100,000, and we turn them every 30 days. So it's a lot of seeds, and it's a lot to manage. And we're out in the greenhouse now, and I don't know if you can see it. We'll walk through it. We do plant what we call succession. So the goal is that every week we are harvesting 2 beds. So our customers are expecting to get their fresh lettuce every week. And it's our job to production plan carefully to make sure that we always have product that's ready to harvest. And it all starts with proper planning in the seed room. What other questions do we have?
How big do the seeds have to grow before they're transferred out from the seed room into the greenhouse?
So they're pretty small, and I'll ask Jen to come over here and show you. So these plants were actually just put in yesterday, so they're pretty tiny. They will grow up pretty quickly once they get into this grow bed. So 10 to 14 days in the seed room, and then they come into the grow bed, and we're at about 30 days, or a little less in the summertime. If we walk back over here, this bed has quite a few different plants growing in it, but this is a green romaine. So this is pretty close to harvest. So these plants will get harvested at the end of this week. They'll be at the end of these would have been in here about 30 days. Green romaine, that's what Jen's showing you right now, is our flagship product. So 80% of what I grow here at Traders Hill Farm is our green romaine lettuce. And then my second most popular plant is its neighbor over here, which is the butterhead lettuce, which is very popular. They're very different. Romaine has, you can tell it's a dark green, it's very crunchy, and the butterhead is, it lives up to its name. It's a little bit of a softer and more delicate lettuce, although it is just as hardy in terms of shelf life. We choose romaine for several reasons. The biggest of which is romaine lettuce in the United States is grown in 2 places. It's grown in either Salinas, California, or Yuma, Arizona. Salinas, California in the summertime. So right now, if you go to a restaurant and are not eating Traders Hill Farm lettuce, your lettuce probably traveled 2,700 miles from California to the first coast. Here at Traders Hill Farm, our delivery range is, most of our customers are within 50 miles of us, but the broadest that they would travel is 350 miles, which is, of course, a far cry from the 2,700 miles that it comes from Salinas and 2,300 miles from Yuma, Arizona. Another benefit of aquaponics, which we really haven't talked about yet, is the water conservation. So aquaponics is amazing in that this is a completely recirculating system. So the water that was in the fish tanks, that goes through the biosystem, that goes through all the beds, that goes through my return pipe here, and back to the sump and back to the fish, is a completely recirculating aquaculture system, right? It's called a RAS. And what this does is it allows us to grow these plants using 95% less water than it would be for conventional farming, where you have to use overhead irrigation. And that is really significant because water is definitely being constrained in the United States. Like I said, much of this lettuce is grown in California, which habitually experiences droughts. And a drought is, of course, lack of available water. And they are experiencing a drought right now. Droughts not only have, they put constraints on the ability for the plants to grow, it also changes the flavor of a plant. So lettuce that is grown in drought regions is subject to being very bitter, and not quite as crunchy. So what we love about our romaine here at Traders Hill Farm, it is a little different than the than the romaine that you would get at your grocery store that comes from California and Yuma, because that's a very tight, closed heart romaine. This is an open heart romaine. The difference between the romaines is this has the deep, leafy green color and texture all the way down to the core. So I have a very minimal core. If we were to harvest this and cut it open, you would not have that white or yellow center. And of course, when the plants go ahead.
So we've got lots of questions, and I'm going to try to get to a couple of them. So what is the most challenging plant to grow from seed to harvest that you guys plant?
Oh, romaine. I would say this has been our Achilles heel. It is a very, very difficult plant to grow in head form. It is what we call quick to bolt. So when it's very sunny, especially during the summertime, it can go to seed very quickly. And the challenge when it goes to seed is not only does it lose its beautiful aesthetics, but it tastes bitter. So romaine is very challenging. The butters can be very challenging as well because they're so delicate. They don't have quite the germination rate that the romaine does, and summer heat, it's like a rose. Summer heat can be a challenge. To combat the heat, we actually have a shade cloth that we put on in the summer months called Illuminate. And Illuminate is wonderful in that it does reflect heat but let light in.
So the question, how long from putting the seed in the seed room to harvest, how long is it? Did you?
Yep. No. So it changes during the season. So in the summertime, it'll be in the seed room 7 days, and it'll be in the grow bed about 26 days. So you're looking at total about 33 to 35 days. In the wintertime, that expands to about 50 days.
And there was a question on, are hydroponic grown plants healthier than plants grown in soil?
I think both can be very healthy. What I do know about the hydroponically grown plants are you get a very consistent plant. So I get consistent aesthetics, I get a consistent taste, and I always get a very consistent nutrient profile in the plant, where that might be variable in the soil, might be. But I will say that both can be very healthy, and everyone should eat lots and lots of lettuce.
How many plants do you have in each of these greenhouses?
So this particular greenhouse, we're on the east side of the greenhouse. So this is 40,000 plants. So right now I'm standing in front of a pool, and this pool is 32 feet across and 100 feet long. And I have 4 of these on the east side of the greenhouse, 4 on the west, and 2 in my small building. So I have 10 pools with 10,000 plants each. So total capacity, 100,000.
And somebody asked about the fans. So why the fans? How important are they?
So fans are amazingly important. Let's talk a little bit about the way our structure is located. So this greenhouse structure was designed very specifically for maximum light and maximum airflow. So I'm on the east side of the greenhouse. So it's situated east to west in terms of lighting. So sun comes up in the east, travels over the greenhouse, and sun sets on the west. So it gets the maximum light during the day. And then I want my maximum airflow. So north side is to my left. So I pull in air from the north, and my exhaust fans pull it out through the south. And then you can see I've got some horizontal fans up here on the towards the top of the greenhouse as well. The reason why we have these fans is to keep the humidity down. So lettuce likes humidity, but lettuce doesn't like too much humidity. It's like having too much chocolate, right? Not good for you. A little bit good, lot bad. So what happens if it's too humid is the plants will lose their ability to absorb calcium. And when they are having a calcium deficiency around the tips of the plant here, it will start to get a brown edge, and it'll look like it's burned. But it's not burn. It's called tip burn, but it's a little bit of a misnomer because it's not a burn at all. It doesn't come from light. It comes from the inability of the plant to take calcium from the water and pull it all the way up, and for it to transpire and pull the calcium up through the tops of its leaves. it happens when it's too humid and the plants can't transpire properly. So proper airflow really helps a lot. If it starts to get super hot here and the tip burn affects the older plants, not as much the younger ones, it's more the mature ones, I'll put big drum fans down here to even further keep the airflow going.
All right, I'm going to ask two more quick questions because we need to keep moving. How many, so in a year, how many plants do you guys grow and harvest?
So we do about 9 harvests a year, 9 to 10. So I'm sorry, that's how many plants we harvest in a year. So it'd be about between 900,000 and 1 million plants per year. It equates on a pound ratio. It's a little less than 500,000 pounds of lettuce that comes off our facility each year.
And the next question, and if you want to do this while we're walking to the packing house, there was questions about jobs. So what kind of jobs do you have there? What different jobs? How many?
So I have today, Traders Hill Farm has 19 employees, and the jobs range, it's a broad range of jobs. So let's see, we'll start with the team that really makes it all happen, which is what I call my greenhouse team. So I have a team of 4 to 5 people, and it is their job to make sure that these plants, once they're ready to go, are harvested, put in the box, put in the pack house, weighed, cataloged, and then they go out to our customers. So I have 4 or 5 people who are on that team. Now that team, that's hard work team. They start at 4 o'clock in the morning. They end their day about 1 p.m. They start at 4 because we're in Florida. It's hot. I do have lights. So I've got some staging lights that we turn on when it's dark so that they can harvest when it's dark. I have on staff, I have a horticulture technician, and it is her job to liaise with my head grower. Now my head grower is, I'm not big enough to have my own head grower on staff, but I have a consultant. So it's her job to liaise with the grower to make sure that my nutrients are right, the fish are happy, and that everything works smoothly. Then I have a team of, I have a pack house manager. So she makes sure that everything's cataloged. I have an inventory manager. So the inventory manager makes sure that everything is cataloged and ready for sale. I have 2 sales managers because once you grow it, it's got to have a home. We have to sell it. I have an operations manager, and her job is to make sure that everything works together, and maintenance techs, because we have to make sure that all our equipment is working properly all the time. Also have drivers. So there's a broad range of jobs.
Okay.
So we're going to head into the pack house.
And the pack house is another one of those rooms where service did not work very well. So it is pre-recorded. So we will go to that video now.
So once lettuce is harvested on the floor, it is rolled into our pack house where it is cataloged and put into the cold storage. So anytime we enter the pack house, again, we want to dip the bottom, clean the bottom of your shoes. That has a little bit of a stearamine disinfectant in it. So product comes into the pack house. I have a pack house manager who catalogs so this is green romaine. So by law, we have to mark on the box where it was grown. So all our boxes are grown with care in Hilliard, Florida. And of course, we have our Flesh from Florida logo, as well as our SQF Food Safety logo. So these are, this is a 12-pound box of green romaine. So this is our flagship product. It's the standard product. This is what, if you're a student in Nassau County Public School System or Alachua County Public School System, or if you go to University of Florida with Gator Dining, you can get our green romaine lettuce on the salad bar.
Okay, so I'm Tracy Padgett. I am the pack house lead here at Traders Hill Farm. This is my organizational board. So what we do here is once they get the invoices in the front office, we will bring them out here. We'll post. It's got it all separated to where what boxes we need to know. It'll tell us how many we're going to need for each day. And this also helps the girls who are harvesting on the board. So all they have to do is say, okay, this is the amount of numbers I need. Do we have it in the cooler? If not, we know this is what we need to harvest. So it keeps us up to date for the whole week. And in the notes section, we keep it that way for like any extra stuff that's not on here, like our free range eggs, mushrooms, anything like that, to where we know it's something that needs to be prepped. So we have harvested the 12-pound green straight off the floor today because it's going to a big distributor we have in the morning. We have palletized every one of them. If we're not sending it out straight away, it'll come into the pack house cooler until it's ready for orders. As you see here, we've got it all separated. We have chef, Epicurean, 12-pound green. So this is where it will go until we actually receive an order, and it'll come back out, go into inventory, and be shipped out.
So this is what the inside of a green romaine box looks like. Now this lettuce will have a shelf life of, it will exceed 3 weeks. We guarantee 3 weeks. However, most of our customers receive their product within 24 to 48 hours of harvest. So it's used within the week. So I don't have to worry about an extended shelf life. But for our retail customers, when you take it, when you get it at the grocery store and take it home, you'll have a good couple of weeks left on that lettuce. So at Trader's Hill Farm, we also work with local farms in Florida and Georgia to produce a CSA box. So this is a CSA box. This is a partial box that's going to go out this week. It always contains our Trader's Hill Farm flagship lettuce. And then customers will also receive tomatoes, onions, potatoes, squash, zucchini, cucumbers, and it's enough for about 7 to 10 days for a family. We do this as a home delivery in Nassau County, Charlton County, and Camden counties. So this is our loading bay, and as products are getting to load out in the morning, they will come here and we'll load the trucks. Depending on if it's going on a box truck or a broadliner, it'll be palletized and shrink wrapped. If it's going on a van for multi-deliveries, the box will just be loaded in the truck. So drivers come in through our door. They know which truck they're driving, what route they're driving, and what time. It's important to complete our routes that our last truck is always out by 7:30.
All right, Tracy, we have a couple questions. We need to keep moving because we're coming up to time, but they go with the pack house. How many deliveries or how many shipments do you ship out on a daily basis?
So most days we send out 3 to 4 trucks. So for Cisco, which is my biggest customer, they go out twice a week. So they'll go out on a Tuesday and a Friday because they deliver to their customers every day. We deliver to our CSA customers on Thursday, Friday. So those are big days. Wednesdays we send out 1 box truck, and that goes to Alachua County Public School System and University of Florida. So it just depends on the day and where those customers are. Another job opportunity is logistics manager. So I do have a logistics manager, and it is her job to coordinate where that product is going, on what truck, and who's driving, and what the route should be. And that's a pretty important thing to coordinate.
There was a question, does the produce need to be washed before eating?
So I do not personally wash the lettuce before I eat it. It is grown in a greenhouse. We don't use any chemical pesticides. It's harvested with gloves. So we take very good care of our lettuce. But we, of course, leave it up to our customers. School systems, most of them require washing of lettuce. So that's why we are very careful with the romaine lettuce. It is a nice hearty lettuce so that if you do wash it, it will hold up very well.
We did have somebody that asked what age they could come in and start working there.
So 16 years old. So you have to be 16. Love high school students. We have the opportunities for high school students to work in the summertime and have opportunities. I do have some local high school students who, believe it or not, work that 4 a.m. shift. They work from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m., go home, shower, and then go to school. And I've had several of those transition to the workforce after they've graduated. So I'm pretty excited about that. One quick thing, we'll jump in here and show our wash bay. So part of our food safety sanitation is super important. So what the team is doing right now is they're washing our flats. And you can see this is our homemade washer. Previously, this is our beta test. We just recently launched this. Previously, washing of these grow flats. So that's what the plants grow in. It's a 2x4 styrofoam board that we have made these ourselves. You can buy these rafts. You can buy what we call beaver rafts. There's a commercial company that will make those. We made our own because we have a very specific configuration that we like to use, but they need to be washed. After every harvest, they need to be washed, and every bed has 450 of these guys that need to be washed. So using our new washer, it goes much faster than washing these guys by hand. So when you have a farm, ingenuity is a big deal, and one of our core values is to encourage innovation. So I was pretty excited that that my team came up with this design, and I'm pretty happy with it. It works pretty well. So the next thing next generation of this machine is to recirculate that gray water that comes off of that washer. Right now, we are washing with just plain water. We don't use a sanitation on these grow flats. It's simply to wash them. How about some more questions?
So there were two different people that asked, what is the number of employees? So you named all the different jobs, but how many people do you employ total?
So I have 19. That would be 19 full-time equivalents. So I have a staff of 18 full-time and 2 part-time. Another job that I have, as I'm looking at all my staff, another job is food safety manager. So that's a big deal for us, food safety. So I do have we follow Global Gap, and we use what's called SQF, Safe Quality Food. So what Safe Quality Food requires us to do is not only follow and live a protocol, but we also are subject to a third-party audit every year. So I have a food safety manager who manages my entire food safety plan. I have a food safety specialist who makes sure that everything we say we do or we're going to do, we do, and we document it, and then she manages the audit every year. So that's I think, you know, as we progress as a society, food safety is going to become more and more important, and that's a specialized career not only for greenhouse growing and for lettuce growing, but across all industries, whether it's poultry, beef, any of these industries require a food safety manager. And I would say as we grow bigger, a sustainability manager. So that's a career that I see as an up and coming career. Right now, it's really only the large farms like Taylor Farms and Church Brothers that are hiring sustainability managers. But as we continue to grow, that's something that we'll want to do as well.
So I think we have time for 2 more questions, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
So there was a question, is using a greenhouse more cost effective than planting outside? So
I would
know
say
that's a hard question.
It's honestly, it's probably a toss-up. So the greenhouse itself it's very capital intensive. It is an expensive piece of infrastructure, but the benefits of that infrastructure, that's my primary form of pest management. And it also allows me to manage a little bit of temperature and fluctuations and things like that. So while I have that capital infrastructure, and I do know that in my greenhouse, my plants are growing very consistently, week over week, month over month. Now, if I'm growing conventionally, I have a big expense as well. If I'm a commercial farmer, you know, a John Deere tractor, you know, I could probably buy 4 of those big combines and it would equal the cost of a greenhouse. So they're both very expensive. Of course, when you have conventional farming, you are nearly 100% subject to Mother Nature in terms of your sunlight and your rain, and that can be a challenge for them.
There's been a couple questions about adding any extra nutrients to the water, or are you fully dependent on what the fish produce?
I do add extra nutrients. So the fish and the nutrients in the feed do supply a considerable amount of nutrients for the plants. And it oversupplies the nitrogen. So never have to worry about a nitrogen source. I do test my waters because you want to make sure that you have your NPK. So you want to make sure that your phosphorus and potassium are within the acceptable range according to your nitrogen. So I do have to add that, not always, but that's why we test our waters to see what we need to add, and then a little iron. So the nutrients that you add to your aquaponics system, you also have to look at your water source. I don't add calcium ever because my water source is a deep water well from the Floridan aquifer, and it has plenty of calcium in it. I have farmer friends, aquaponic friends in northern states that don't have that luxury of having calcium coming from their well water.
All right, we have time for you to give your final, what would you like everybody to take away from this experience? Why do you do what you do?
So we do what we do. We at Traders Hill Farm, we love being in the produce business. We love the fact that we're growing fresh, tasty, healthy, and locally grown produce. It makes us feel good every day. It's good for people. It's good for their bodies, and we like being a part of that. We're very proud to be consistently striving for higher sustainability. We look at sustainability as a company, and I would say for students watching this, it's also about personal sustainability. So it's about sustaining your health, and so that means eating healthy foods. It means getting a good night's sleep. It's getting enough exercise so that you can be a healthy, productive person. And of course, couple that with your education, right? Those are two things that you own personally, are your health and your education. So it's up to you to take both of those seriously. Farming is fun, especially what we call the new generation of farming. So I encourage everyone, aquaponics, you don't have to do it on a big scale. You can do it on a small scale. So start small and grow it from there. And if anybody needs a job, call me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to show us your farm. We are going to have 4 more farm tours in the fall for all of you guys watching. And there's going to be a post survey that we're going to ask you guys to fill out. And in there, if you guys have anything that you want to see that you don't know about in the state of Florida, one of our agriculture industries, we have an amazingly diverse industry here in Florida. So please give us your suggestions. And then again, I will be taking all these questions. I still have like 25 on Zoom and quite a few on YouTube that we didn't answer, but I will get those all to you. So thank you guys and have a great day.